This video is brought to you by Straight Goods News, Canada's alternative online news source. Visit straightgoods.ca.
Well, I was trying to suss that out myself as to whether they're supportive or not. I was left with the impression that they're going to vote for it. And if that's the case, that's wonderful. That means within 6 months we'll have the legislation that we should have had the first time going through the Chief Electoral Officer's report, but 6 months is better than not at all.
Except the odd thing is if they do that tomorrow, it was just yesterday afternoon I was speaking to one of their members, Tom Lewinsky, who was telling me that the reason they voted the other way was because they didn't want to add any cost to. Why the sudden turnaround?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, their original position, they've now got it out there publicly so I can comment, because so much of what we did was in camera and I can't comment, but now they're out there. The option that they chose was not the preferred option of the Chief Electoral Officer. In fact, he wanted more powers. The last time this was looked at, the committee balked and said no, and that evolved into a second option, which is the one the Conservatives have now adopted, but it's not nearly as good. It costs parties more money. There's not even a guarantee that we have those kind of auditing services in Canada, and it still is one step away from what the Chief Electoral Officer asked for, which was the ability to ask for documents. Remember this.
But if they change their minds tomorrow, just 24 hours after,
yeah, well, it means
what's happening here?
Well, are the wheels beginning to fall off their wagon? Are they finally getting some oxygen and realizing what the right thing is to do? I don't know. But at this point, they're sending out a mixed message. They're saying no, they don't want to give the Chief Electoral Officer those powers. They refuse to do it in committee, refuse to put it in the report, and now the Prime Minister seems to indicate that they're ready to support our motion that would do exactly that. So, it looks like there's some gymnastics going on here, and they're going to have to answer for it. But remember, right, what this is about. Anytime a party submits an election return document, they don't have to have supporting documents. Unlike a leadership candidate or candidates in ridings, the parties don't have to provide any documents. So this power was some ability to be able to confirm they're telling the truth.
So this vote's tomorrow night, is that the case?
The debate is tomorrow. The vote may be carried over. It often is from a Friday to the first of the week.
Will it change anything, like, only for the future, or will it?
Well, it'll be interesting to see what the law says. Are they going to allow retroactivity, meaning that they can use that power for any current investigation, or is it only going to be something going forward? So it'll be interesting to see whether they try to have it both ways.
Is there a significant cost to the Elections Canada office of taking on these new powers? Did that come up in committee?
We don't believe so. We're double checking with their office now. But they're the ones that it was the Chief Electoral Officer who made the comment that parties were going to have to spend more money that they don't have to spend right now. And remember, all that money has a subsidy attached to it. But not only that, but that the parties now would have to respond to any demand by the Chief Electoral Officer to give the documents. So what the Chief Electoral Officer has said is that one of the things his shop would have to do is to create guidelines, a whole new set of guidelines for these new auditing procedures that currently aren't happening. So I don't see where the increased cost is. If anything, it's cheaper, because the only documents that need to be produced or audited are the specific ones the Chief Electoral Officer asked for. Under the Conservative option, everything gets audited. So it costs more money, it's inefficient, and it still doesn't give the power to the CEO that he needs to do his job.
In your motion tomorrow that's going to be debated, in terms of telemarketing, what exactly are you proposing? I mean, giving the powers to scrutinize.
Well, it's a registration. We want to register the companies that are providing that service, and we want any parties that use those services to register as a client.
But that would have no purview over the content. I mean, for example, you get.
At this point, no, we're not talking content. But we can see where the legislation goes. But the principle is in there. We're open to what the legislation would look like, but the principle of ensuring that there's some registration on both sides, because a lot of this is about who made the calls, who paid for it, how much, was it claimed. If we had this kind of registry, a lot of that initial information would already be there.